Lesson 9 is about using Photoshop for some advanced compositing techniques, and this is where Photoshop really shines. You can have a look at what we're going to be creating, but once you're finished, you can close it out and make sure you've downloaded the Lesson 9 folder that's got all of the different parts to it. Now, if you're following along with the book, there is one thing that I'm going to do in this video that's going to deviate from how the book has this set up. The book is going to have you open up all of the monster makeup files using Adobe Bridge. All along, I've not been using Adobe Bridge to manage all of my files. But in order to open up all of these different Photoshop documents in one document as separate layers, here's how we can do it. If you go up to File, down to Scripts, you can tell it to load files into Stack. From here, this is where we can choose the files or the folder that is necessary. You can choose the folder or the files, either one tends to work, but when you click on Browse, we need to find the folder that we're working on. Mine's on the desktop for Lesson 9. Here's the folder, and I'm simply going to select all of the files inside of this folder. When we say Open, all the files are going to be loaded, and this will be the order that the layers are going to be in. You can change them around by clicking and dragging, or you can just sort them by name by default. Once we say OK, this is going to take each of our different documents, and you can see how it's automatically building it over on the side as their own individual layer. Give it just a few moments to place everything in. Once it's finished and stopped, we're ready to go. Let's go up to File and Save As. Since this is a new document, we're going to call this 09 Working and put your name on it. Do make sure you know where this is being saved to. In my case, I'm going to put it in the Lesson 9 folder as a Photoshop document and click Save. Alright, so the next thing we want to do is to rearrange some of the layers. If you can't see the entire document, let's do Command 0 to back out and center it up. And to see all of our layers in the Layers panel, you can kind of click between it. Let's drag up so that all of these are nice and visible. First thing we want to do is to grab that monster hair layer, and let's drag it all the way to the top, so it's at the very top. And then let's take this Frankenstein layer and drag it all the way to the bottom. All right, with that in place, use your Move tool and select the Frankenstein layer. It's going to be the person, and just drag him down so that he's towards the bottom of the page. Still centered up and everything looks good. Finally, let's take all of these facial elements, selecting them all. So click on the first layer, hold down Shift, and click on the green texture layer so that all of those are selected. Then you can use your Move tool, and if you've got Show Transform Controls on, you get a little bounding box that lets you scale this down. We roughly want to place it so that everything is lined up nicely on top of his head. Now it's looking pretty good, pretty close. Later on, we can resize things as necessary. We can go up here and commit to any transformations that we need. Now let's take it one layer at a time and see if we can place these exactly where they need to be. We're going to turn off visibility for all of the layers except for this green skin texture layer. If necessary, you can zoom in so you can see the face a little bit better. And with this face selected, we want to line it up perfectly with his eyes and with his nose. And if it's off by a little bit, that's okay. Remember, if necessary, you can also click on the handles and readjust the size of it. Just make sure everything stays nice and proportional. You can also use your arrow keys to nudge things up or down, but using the eyes kind of as a guideline, that's what we want to be able to see to center that up. Then when we're done, we'll click check marks. To further help refine this and place it right where it needs to be, with the layer selected, let's convert this to a smart object. This will allow us to save this as a separate design, and any filters we apply to it can be undone. With it selected, you can go up to your layer options and then choose Convert to Smart Object. Notice that this will add a little icon to it. Then we can go up to our filters and let's add a liquify filter. If you have it already selected here, that's okay, but you can also choose this one to open up the regular liquify filter settings. Notice by default it's only showing the one layer that we're working on. If you go over to the options on the side and scroll to the very bottom, we want to be able to show this on all of the layers. So if you don't have it selected, we can tell it to show the backdrop on all the layers and set the opacity by bringing it up to be about 75 or so %, right about there. This way we can see what's below it to make sure everything looks nice. Now we can use our zoom tool, and let's zoom in so that, oops, too much. We'll undo by Command 0. And let's zoom in over the face by clicking and dragging over the area till we can see it nicely. Finally, let's use the regular forward warp tool, which is our first tool in the toolbox. We can go over to the tool options at the top, set the size of it to be 150 pixels with a pressure of about 75. Less pressure gives you a little bit more control. With this liquify warp, we can place it over the eye and then click and drag and move the eye into position. Sometimes you may want to push the top down or the bottom up, but again, looking at the center of it to center up the eye and getting it nice and directly where it needs to be. It's a subtle little change, but once you've got it set, you can go down to say OK, and you can see how it fits really nice right inside the mask area. Now, because it's a smart object layer, you can see how it adds a smart object layer filter, and we can turn on and off visibility of that one to see the before and after changes that we applied to that design. Let's continue adding some of the other parts to our monster. Turn on visibility for the green nose. We can use our move tool to move it into place. Put that right over the stitches so that it kind of matches the brow line of them. Next, let's turn on the green neck stitches. We'll place these down here underneath his neck. Remember, if necessary, you can use your free transform to move it in and get everything looking appropriate for the neck area. You can then commit to any transformations that are necessary. We'll go over and turn on the green ear staples and select that one. Drag it down right where the ear should be, so right along this particular edge, matching the curve of the eye as well as the side of his face. Remember, you can use your arrow keys to also nudge it into place. That looks good. Let's add a forehead to him by clicking the enhanced forehead, moving it down and into place. You can see how it's much bigger than is necessary. So I'm going to scale this down till it fits nicely along the edges as well. Again, use your arrow tools to nudge it into place, and if necessary, you can hold down Shift and get it to fill the top, the bottom, and the edges. And we'll commit to that transformation. Going back to our layers, turn on the bolts and select that layer. We'll make them fit snugly by scaling them down to fit the edges of the neck. And then we'll move them into place. I'm using my arrow keys to nudge them there. And then let's do the hair last. Select that hair and get it to fit nicely on the top. Again, you may need to zoom and transform it until it fits the top edge. Now as we zoom out, you'll notice that the skin texture of the original model doesn't match the green skin texture of all the different parts that we just put on there. So what we want to do is to paint the skin to match this green color. In order to do this, let's go to our Layers panel and let's scroll till we select the Frankenstein PSD layer. From there, we can click the little plus sign and add a new layer on top of it. I'm going to call this the color, layer. With this color layer selected, change your blending mode from normal all the way down to color. Anything we paint inside of here is automatically going to blend in color with whatever is underneath it. Now, in order to do that, let's grab our paintbrush tool, go up to our options. We're going to choose just a regular round-edged brush. So you can either click on General and choose Hard Round. You can set the size of your brush to be 60 pixels with a hardness of 0. So it's actually, going to be a very soft edge brush. Do make sure you're working in normal blending mode with 100% opacity and flow, and everything else will be just the default setting. Now to pick up the color of the green skin texture, with your paintbrush selected, you can hold down the Option or the Alt key at any time, and then click on this area to pick up that color. Also, we only want to paint inside of the area that has the skin. So in order to select just that area to work in, go down to your Layers panel, hold down the Command key as you click on the Frankenstein area, and you can see now it highlights and selects just that inside part. Now when you go to paint, you can see how it stays just inside of those pixels and everything else remains untouched on the outside. Let's carefully go through and get just the green of his hands and any part that you see skin for here. Also, you can do the same for his face. Careful not to go too far on the eyes, but if you do, that's okay. We can always clean it up later. Let's get all of this too. You can see how the color blending mode only affects the colors of whatever you're painting. It doesn't affect any highlights or shadows, lights or darks, just the color is what we want to work through. Now, if necessary, you can undo any of this by simply choosing your eraser tool. The eraser tool works just like a brush, so we can go up here and also set the size to be 60 and the hardness to be 0. If you do go over an area that you don't like I can see right outside of here, you can always erase it away and then either repaint it or try something different. Let's go up to Select and deselect our entire composition. This is also a good time to go up to File and let's save what we're working on.